Welcome to the Corporate to Coach podcast. I'm Pamela, a former corporate professional turned certified life and business coach and mentor. If you're ready to sign clients, grow your soul-led coaching business, and shed the employee identity so you can step fully into business ownership, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. For today's episode, I am going to be talking about next level visibility, because everybody has another level of visibility that they are ready to expand and step into. And I'm going to break down some of the levels of visibility that my clients are typically navigating when they work with me. And I want to invite you to come and do this with me. I am currently running a 30-day visibility challenge. Now, before you think to yourself, oh God, can I do 30 days of visibility? Basically, the challenge is my challenge, and I'm bringing you along. In the very first day, day 0, I actually have you set your own challenge because I've got such a mix of clients inside the visibility challenge. Not everybody is intending to challenge themselves to show up for 30 days. Some are challenging themselves to just create a consistent rhythm with their marketing 2, 3, 5 times a week. But for them, they are identifying their level of visibility. So this episode is as much for you joining the challenge and those who are already inside the challenge, as well as an invitation for you to be able to recognize what your next level of visibility is, so that you can come into the challenge and powerfully set a target for yourself, and then have my activations, my energetic, my prompts, giving you the perspective shifts, the mindset shifts, the embodiment practice, the actual prompts. I'm not doing it every single day, but some days I'm sharing literal, like, why don't you go and post this? Why don't you think about it in this way? And giving you perspectives about how I am creating the content that I'm creating, how I'm getting visible at the level I'm getting visible. And I'll dive into all of that in a bit more detail throughout the podcast, and actually encouraging you and helping you to create the level of visibility that you want. So in some ways, yes, this is content, but in other ways, visibility isn't just refined to what you say or what you write. For some of you, your next level of visibility is being out in the world, being out in person, being visible as a coach in your community, amongst your family, amongst your friends, amongst real people in real life. So this isn't just constricted or restrained to how you're showing up online. This is actually a much wider embodiment discussion about how you are being the coach of choice in your life. So those of you who know Messaging Mastery or have been inside Messaging Mastery will know that this is one of the core foundations of that training. If you want to access that training, then you can access it included in my one-to-one Thrive group, or you can buy it as a standalone Messaging Mastery. And I'll put the link in the show notes for you to purchase that. If the very basics and foundations of messaging eludes you a little bit, or if, like me, you're actually more advanced, but for you, it's taking it to the next level, actually really studying these perspectives, not just doing it because you've learned, because you've been doing it for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, and you just created content, but never really understood the mechanics behind it. This will help you understand exactly why you do what you do. It will be incredibly validating, but also it will give you so much more intentionality and purpose when you are showing up to sell, to market, and just to exist in the world as a life coach. So there is a lot of identity work in there. There is lots of very practical steps about how to create content, how to discuss client transformations, how to discuss and talk about and sell and market powerfully your own coaching offers. Inside the visibility challenge, however, it doesn't matter what level you're at. I have clients who are just starting. I also have clients who are 3, 4, 5 years into their business. But generally speaking, they are less than that 50 to 60K range of all-time revenue. So for you, this is a conversation you want to be listening into, especially if the revenue isn't where you want it to be yet, especially if clients are just trickling in or not at all, if you're being honest with yourself. And if especially visibility immediately stands out to you as something that you think you need to explore. But if you're listening to this because you're just a regular listener and you always tune into my stuff and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm hearing all of that, but where is the thing for me? These are the different things that I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to be talking about what it is just to first get visible and the initial exposure linked to visibility. Once that is out of the way, which to be honest, most of you listening to this will be beyond that stage, I'm going to be talking about visibility when it comes to selling, visibility when it comes to failure, visibility when it comes to success, visibility in terms of potency and truth, and visibility in terms of the formats of visibility. So stay tuned. I'm guessing that's probably enticed a few of you. So let's get the obvious and the easy one out of the way, okay? The first level of visibility. So if you are new, now, even if you're not new, because most of you are not new, if you're listening to this podcast and you're attracted to this level of conversation, you're probably over the hump of starting your business. Let's be freaking honest. You've been in it for a while. You certified a while ago, or you're close to certification, and you are like, yeah, I'm creating content. I've got over the hump of getting that first post out there, and I show myself. That is the basics. Like, guys, if you're not freaking showing yourself, if you're not allowing yourself just to do the bare minimum and just get yourself out there to be visible in the most basic possible way, to communicate to people that you are a life coach, this is what you do now, like this is the thing, even if you have a 9 to 5 but you do life coaching. I have other episodes that dive into that in a lot more detail. That isn't this level of discussion, to be honest with you, but I wanted to give it a nod, because when you do first show up, the truth is it does feel like exposure. It does feel like you are revealing yourself in a way that you've maybe never had to reveal yourself before. And this especially can really come up for my more seasoned coaches who are defining themselves in a way that they've never fully defined themselves. So maybe you've been posting, maybe you've got over the initial hump, maybe you've given yourself permission just to like get out there. You recognize that marketing and selling is a critical part of business building, and if you're going to be a life coach, then you need to be able to build a business, and that those skill sets are an inevitability. I think we all agree on that now. If you've been in my podcast for a while, you know this is like the bare basics. But it hits different when you are stepping into a new level of exposure from the context of defining your niche, sharing a new offer, putting yourself out there in a way that you have never previously defined yourself, especially when you are communicating a niche or an expertise or a specific angle of interest. For example, just to throw some ideas out there so you know what I mean, like maybe you've been a general life coach and now you're finally going into a niche. Maybe you have softly spoken about certain topics, like maybe you've mentioned spirituality, but if you're honest with yourself, you're deeply religious and you believe in God. And for you, bringing that into the dialogue, regardless of the niche, is feels very exposed to you because you're revealing a part of yourself that you've never fully had to communicate before. This is really going from, oh God, I should be over this. Oh, I've got a feed that's so extensive and created so much content. It's not that you're brand new at this and that just posting in this way is new, but for you, it is that potency and truth. Speaking to a level of truth that you have only reserved to date inside your coaching containers. That can feel exposing because the mindset around it is that so far you haven't necessarily created safety for yourself to allow yourself to be seen so fully. And there's always two elements to this. There's the aspect of just being a beginner again, even if you got over the initial hump of just sharing your truth, just telling people that you're a life coach. if you got over that a few years ago, like certified, let's say earlier this year, last year, you did the initial like reveal of coming out as a life coach, but now you are really defining yourself. Now you're stepping into your power as a specific coach, or speaking about a specific thing, or you have found a truth that you have seen consistently amongst your clients, and now you're at a place where you're like, right, I've turned this into a program, I've turned this into a group, I'm ready to like really claim my expertise, my leadership in this, because I stand for something. That is often a recreation of that beginner energy uncertainty, and we can shy away from that. And it's true, there may be deeper conditioning at play. There may be deeper things that you need to work through, that to allow yourself to create safety and belonging within yourself. But when you stay in the mindset of, I can't talk about this, I shouldn't talk about this, and you're hiding your potency and truth, that's when it becomes problematic, because energetically you're not aligned. Energetically, there's an incongruence with the way that you want to be showing up, the truth that wants to be seen in you, the frequency that you can operate at, and you operate at internally and with your intimate circles. But then externally, the people who are looking at you, watching you, waiting for you to show up for them, to be the coach of choice, to say to them, you can help me, or I can help you rather, and they're not feeling that, they mistake your incongruence and your alignment with your truth as either someone who they can't trust, because what you are portraying is just a tiny fraction of what you're capable of, and they feel that. They can't quite put their finger on it, but they're not quite bought in and they don't know why. That's why. So the ripple effect of this matters. I've been speaking a lot about potency and truth, a lot, at the identity level, because when you hide yourself, your clients can't find you. When you hide yourself, even when you're hiding in plain sight, you're still creating content, you're still putting yourself out there, you're still being visible, you're still being seen. The shift I want you to think is, on the surface, it may look like visibility, but are you being expressed? And this applies whether you're brand new, or whether, like me, you've been in it a while, but the money for you it still isn't there. You know, you could be making more clients, you could be making more impact. That's the difference. And I have seen that result in me over and over and over again. Yeah, the initial hump, don't get me wrong, that was petrifying. I think I had to psych myself up for like 2 weeks before I did my first live. I get it, it's nerve-wracking, you're gonna have to do it. Okay, no more nervous than going to the last interview you did to get that 6-figure job. But this time there's no deadline. This time there's no, oh, fuck, well, if I don't show up, that ruins my reputation. And what if somebody on LinkedIn finds out and I never get a job again? This is the thing. When you're building your own business, no one gives a shit. That means no one's accountable, or you're not accountable to anyone other than yourself. So yeah, you can keep hiding away, or you can set a date and just commit to doing what you want to do. Not that you want, not what you have to, not what you should do, but what you want to do. And if you're being called to the next level, which is go live, show your face, get on video, start a podcast, do a live challenge for 30 days, freaking 365 days. I've seen so many coaches do that. That will help you get to your next level. And that's a beautiful thing. So that links onto the third one. I'm not doing them in the order I said in the introduction, by the way, trusting the flow of the conversation. That links to the third one. Sometimes it's just a format. Your next level of visibility is a new format for you. Maybe you're going in your own business from, I don't know, like a 6-week container to a 6-month container. Maybe format wise, you know that you're comfortable hiding behind Canva and being on carousels, even though nobody's really engaging. Maybe for you, you secretly know your next level is video, being visible, actually sharing your voice, sharing your truth. And maybe, like me, part of my personal 30-day visibility challenge, which spurred this whole thing, was I used to do carousels, and I've been getting a little bit lazy with the real thing and just letting that do its thing, but I've missed the potency of putting my energy into carousels. I've missed the creativity of really sitting down and enjoying the creative process and creating something beautiful and sharing it from that perspective. I've really gone through the like different waves of formats that you can use. And it's not that one is better than the other. I'm not saying that you need to be using reels. I'm not saying you have to be on video. I'm not saying you have to start a podcast. That isn't what I'm saying. But if that's what you're receiving, then you're not thinking at the level of embodiment. You're thinking at the level of what do I have to do to make this work versus who do I have to be? What do I want to be embodying to be the kind of coach that people recognize as walking the walk? I've done all of these things in my life and I know I can help someone. How can I start showing up as if that is my truth? Because it is. And celebrate that truth. Be in your truth. You don't have to. And this is the other thing. For some of you, the challenge is visibility in your success. You're so used to being in the struggle. It's easy to create the content of, oh, you're going through this, being mad at the world, being a rebel with your own personal development. Oh, I love myself. Good. Finally. Well done. Meanwhile, those who do love themselves, they're like, yeah, tell me about your next challenge. Tell me about your next level of embodiment. Tell me about what lights you up versus this is how far I've come. So for some of you, it is, yeah, a simple format shift. You need to switch up. And we're doing that in the challenge too. That's exactly what I'm doing in the challenge. I'm switching up the format. For some of you, that's exactly what you need. You just need a fresh injection of like changing up the format, not being bored by your own content anymore, doing something that actually lights you up and giving yourself permission to go do that. Great. Come into the challenge. That's what we're doing. And for some of you, myself included, it is that next level of potency, that next level of truth. For some of you, that is because you're changing niche, because you're changing formats in the type of offer you're selling. Maybe for some of you, you've recently increased your price or lowered your price. And for you, it's visibility and allowing yourself the freedom to just be seen, to be doing what you're up to. And for those of you who need to be allowed or to give yourself permission to be visible in your success, that is a brave thing. That is a really, really, really brave thing. And it's so interesting when I'll give you a really potent example for me that I'm continuously navigating. It doesn't feel like it's something that's really complete for me. And I'll share with you what it is because I get feedback on this a lot. I'm a business coach, obviously, as you know. Come and work with me. I'll help you grow your business. I'll help you build your business and I'll help you grow your business. They're two different stages. And by the way, as a side note, I think I will be doing a podcast very soon about the different stages of business because lots of you get that mixed up. There's starting a business, building a business, growing that business, and then scaling that business. So one of the things that I have had to navigate is going from just talking about the employee to entrepreneurship transition, just talking about the struggle of building a business into the success of building a business. Something a lot of clients tell me is that they love that I don't talk about money, but I do, just not as overtly as some coaches do. And I'm not saying that that's a judgment. Great for them. I love them. I love those who do. I buy from those that do regularly. And I buy from those who are business coaches that don't talk about revenue. I mention my revenue. And it is another level of growth for me to be able to find the right balance of talking about revenue without selling something I'm not selling. So, I've hit 5K months, 10K months, 15K months. That is amazing. I'm a six-figure coach. I think that's probably one of the first times I've actually said that on the podcast. I so rarely say that. Why? Because I have seen so many coaches go for the coach because of the money wins, and that creates this false sense of safety that when they purchase from those coaches, that proximity and energy alone and just learning the things that they have to teach them is enough to create the same results. And then you're bitterly disappointed when you're not getting that. And anytime I speak to a coach who has that energy of bitterness, who has that energy of, God, the coaching industry, you just can't trust it. It's a bit of a farce. And wow, there's so much shit that I hear about the industry, and it breaks my heart because I don't ever want to invalidate someone who's made exceptional money. And I know firsthand that the key to manifestation, the key to creating any freaking result in your life doesn't just happen in the brain or in the body. It happens in the actions that you take or do not take. And once you're taking those actions, it then happens at the level of consistency, reliability, and potency of those actions. Doing it once ain't going to get you there. Selling a workshop one time and then being like, well, that didn't work, and never doing it again. Not having the tools to know how to review, not understanding what goes into a launch, not knowing how to lovingly evaluate yourself and be real with yourself about what you did or didn't do and the energetics that were leading to those actions, giving yourself a chance to go again and again and again and again before deciding, well, that didn't work, maybe I need to try ads. That didn't work, maybe I need to lower my price. That didn't work, maybe I need to change my offer. Do you see what I'm saying here? So I'm as much as I know the value of being able to communicate just how successful I am, for me, finding my comfort with that level of visibility when it comes to talking about my success, I don't want you guys to start using it as a reason to bypass you having to do the work too. So that's why I don't talk about it as much. That's why I do appeal at the level of action taking, of belief, of embodiment, because that is manifestation. But when I dress it up as manifestation, you think it's a cheat code, and it isn't. I manifest the heart, like I manifest daily. I call it manifestation daily. I'm always speaking to God. I'm always speaking to universe. I'm always reminding myself of my power so that I can take action. That is the missing link with manifestation, as a complete side note. But what that means with success is that I want to navigate the success that I do communicate with my visibility in integrity, in a way that enables my clients to succeed, instead of making it out as if this is the answer. Because whilst I have the answers, none of it bypasses you actually doing the work, because no one can build your business for you. And if that puts you off working with me, and you're more inclined to go to somebody who sells you the easy path, even though when you get inside, they fully expect you to have to show up and do the work, then I'm not afraid to do that for now, because that's what feels in integrity to me. So for you, how this could be manifesting is that you may have reached some level of success, whether that's financial success, whether that's in your embodied results, such as, like, one of my clients at the moment, she's a self-love coach. She's absolutely beautiful. What she does her work so beautifully, and it shows up in her life every single day. And to be fair to her, I think of her because she's a good example of what visibility in your success looks like. She lives her life. She's happy. She's not afraid to show it. And I love that about her. Are you open? Are you expressed in your success? And like I say, I don't mean financial success. Are you expressed in your embodiment? If you're a transition coach, do you confidently share the transitions that you've gone through, even if it's not the transition you're in? If you're a parenting coach, do you confidently own and claim and self-validate and give yourself the recognition, and then, because that's the embodiment work, and then take the action in communicating that to your clients in whatever format you wish, powerfully and unreservedly, even if there are days that you're not a great parent or you forget how good you are and you have a bad day, because we're all freaking human and that happens sometimes. So allowing yourself permission to be seen in your success, to be visible in your success. Maybe that's the challenge that you need to give yourself permission to. And especially if you really dislike pain point marketing. Now, what I teach inside Messaging Mastery and thereby one-to-one and group is that it isn't about using pain points, not using pain points. It's about understanding the client journey and giving clients what they need to know in order to recognize that you can help them. But it might be true that you recognize that you need to start talking about client results, sharing testimonials, sharing client stories. And FYI, if you're just screenshotting a testimonial and you're not actually telling the story behind it, you're missing out and people are just sliding by. And that's even more frustrating because you have the evidence, you have the results, you have beautiful feedback, and then it's just what for? So for you, your 30-day challenge might be, I'm going to speak about client results, not for 30 days straight, but in your marketing, in your general day to day, you're going to weave in any of the examples that you give. You're going to weave in your ability to speak about those things. That is so powerful. One of my favorite coaching calls actually from Q4 last year was one of my clients saying to me, coming to session, literally just like, gosh, I don't know what to say. I'm feeling a little bit stagnant in my content. I'm like, no worries, I've got you. It's normal. This is all good. So I just got her talking. What's going on with your clients recently? Like, what are you up to? I know she has client. Is she fully booked? Not yet. She's working towards that. Does she have the odd client that she signed during her time working with me? Absolutely. So I was like, well, let's get out of your head. Let's get focused on what's going on with your clients. She's telling me what's going on. She tells me some of the breakthroughs that have been happening, the micro breakthroughs, the macro breakthroughs. Within 20 minutes, we have some incredible content. A few days later, I see it come through in her socials. It's that simple. But when you're not thinking in this way, when you're not actively looking for the wins, you're sat there thinking, oh, what do I create today? I don't know what to say. I don't know if I can talk about this. And especially for you, if you find yourself thinking, I'm not good enough yet, I'm not ready enough yet, I don't have enough experience yet, it's because you haven't intentionally and on purpose honed in on everything that you do with your clients. Even if you've done it in the past, it's time to revisit that. It's really, it really is time to revisit that. So those of you who are in Messaging Mastery, be sure to check out the storytelling modules, because that is basically all about testimonials, how to write testimonials, how to structure testimonials, how to find the story in client stories, and how to be able to communicate that into your content. So being able to speak to success, not just your own, but client successes as well. Maybe that's the next level of visibility for you, and to let go of some of that pain point marketing and go into marketing that is really expansive. Because this is the beautiful thing when you are talking about client stories, testimonials, your own embodiment, your own journey, it is such an expansive conversation. And when you are talking at the level of expansion of personal power, personal development, being your best self, being in the transformation, that is highly magnetic. And magnetic is a very, very valuable thing when it comes to building a beautiful business filled with soul-led clients who you absolutely love to work with because they're resonating with you at the level of the transformation instead of at the level of the problem. Okay, so let's also talk about visibility through failure. This is so important. So I have experienced in my 5 years as a business owner, I have experienced what it feels like to have a launch that didn't go as well as I hoped it would, and to have that awful feeling of, oh my God, I have failed at this. And for me, that journey, this was like 2 years ago. I'm trying to think time frame. I think it was Q4 year before last. And I remember for about 3 weeks, I just had this awful sinking feeling in my chest, this awful feeling of just, oh, like, what's happening? Like, what happened? What's going wrong? Like, and it was just going wrong. Like, nothing was happening. Nobody was buying. I was just so broken as a result of the way I was making myself feel. And it took me 3 weeks to even admit out loud that I felt like I was a failure and that I had failed in that launch. And I was heartbroken, truly. And it was such a feeling of like disappointment in the outcome, disappointment in myself. And it took me so long to admit to myself that that's what it felt like, that when I actually admitted it, I remember exactly where I was, because I was still digital nomading, and I was in this particular house where we were looking after this dog with a British bulldog, an absolute beast, a hunk of a dog that refused to do walks and was very cute to cuddle with, but a little bit stinky. And I remember rolling out my yoga mat and crying on the yoga mat. It was like my little safe space to cry on. And I remember that day after I cried it out and I admitted to myself, which, to be honest, what's the word? The cathartic experience of crying it out was actually very healing in and of itself, just being with the emotion, allowing myself to actually process the emotion. And afterwards, I remember thinking to myself, oh my fucking God, I'm going to have to create content now. How can I show up like this? And I sat with that, and I realized a few things. I realized, I don't have to show up. Not today. We can wait. We can give it a day off and come back at it tomorrow. It's not going anywhere. My business still loves me. That was a very nourishing thought. But once the initial, like, and this is the difference between like bleeding all over your audience, looking to show up so that people can fix you. I've never done that. I never have ever felt the need to share what's really going on in my heart, body, and soul. I process it and then I speak of it from a place of experience, even if that's just a day later. But then once I have done that and navigated that, I then come back and I go, okay, what is my truth? Where can I be in integrity even when I am experiencing a hardship? So for you, it might not be that a launch is going wrong or that you're failing or that you're not getting the outcomes that you want. It might be that you are generally just going through a tough time, or maybe you've got stuff going on in your personal life where maybe there's illness in the family, maybe there's a tragedy in the family. I'll never forget the time when I did one of my first ever visibility. I didn't call it a visibility challenge. I just called it like a 30-day live challenge. I just did it for me. I didn't bring my audience along. I wasn't a business coach at the time. I was just transitioning into business coaching, actually. So that was it. I was using it. I was using my own little, I'm going to go live for 30 days as a challenge to myself to help me find the confidence and through courage to come out as a business coach. And so that was when I first left England. I was traveling at the time over to New Zealand, and I'd set this challenge for myself. And some of you may know the story. It is a little bit sad, but it was, I don't know, I was probably 2 days near the end of the challenge, and I had just had 2 days to go. I'd actually been consistent that entire time. I was so proud of myself. I was in MIQ, so that was when the pandemic happened. If you went to a new country, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel room and you weren't allowed to leave. Now that wasn't fun, but we did it. But about a week into my 2 weeks quarantine, I received the worst news, and one of my friends had passed away. And it was devastating to hear. Add the fact that I was stuck in a hotel in the other side of the world. All my friends and family are on a completely different opposite time zone. Couldn't leave the hotel even if I wanted to, and if I decided to go back as an emergency, like I don't think it would have legally been an option. And just the grief and the heartbreak and being so close to succeeding, and then having something like that happen. And I grappled with myself. Do I go live? Do I get visible? Do I allow myself to be seen in this moment? And what I ended up deciding was that in that moment, I decided to go ahead and go live. And it was a Q&A that I did that day. And when I go back to the live and I go back and look at that video, you can probably tell in my eyes that I'm extremely sad. But I don't think I actually said what had happened. I couldn't say it at the time. But when I look at my eyes in that video, I can see how glassy they were. I can see how, gosh, it kind of chokes me up to talk about it actually. But the point is that I made a decision to be visible in that moment, and that felt like something I could do. What was interesting is that the next day, when I reflected on that, I thought, you know what? I don't need to prove it to myself. I proved to myself that I could do a hard thing. The next day, I didn't feel like I needed to do that anymore, and I gave myself permission not to. So, that has made me emotional, I'll be honest. Okay, so the point is, visibility is as much learning to be in dialogue with yourself during the challenges so that you can build that muscle of self-trust and show yourself that if you want to be visible, you can be. And giving yourself permission to be visible in a really powerful way, whether for you that's starting, whether for you that's sharing your successes, whether for you that's sharing that you're changing niche or opening a new offer, whether for you that's selling at a level of potency and consistency that you've never done before, or just coming back to it because you've had a break. And other times, it is also like building that muscle so that you can trust yourself when you know that it's a moment to choose not to be visible, even if you said you were going to be. Yeah. And like not being hard on yourself, not being an asshole to yourself unnecessarily, being able to give yourself the grace and compassion and navigate those moments and do what you need to do and know when it's okay to like step away. What I see though is that when you don't have that, those decisions aren't clean cut. When you don't have that level of self-trust because you haven't built that visibility muscle, if something tragic happens, or if something really good happens, like a massive launch or a 15K month like I've had a couple of times, and it's just been like, wow. And you're like, oh, but can I say that? It's trusting yourself to know what is in integrity for you to talk about. You only do that by practicing the muscle. You can't do that by just hearing what I have to say. You have to take action on that. You have to embody that. You have to be, as they say, in the arena, actually finding your own muscles, growing your own muscles with this, because that's the only way you'll know. That's the only way you can truly trust yourself. It's the only way that you'll truly build that muscle of visibility. And if your visibility muscle looks like a new format, so be it. If your visibility muscle looks like selling consistently for 30 days, so be it. You know what your calling is. If your visibility muscle is just getting on camera, so be it. If for you, it's like me, coming back to some of your creative roots, using carousels again, enjoying Canva again, or for you, it's just actually just getting out there and just being visible, full stop. This is your call to arms. Come and do this with me. This is what we're doing inside the group. It is a beautiful, beautiful group of women. There's basically daily drops. So for the next 30 days, we're only on day 4 at the time of recording, and I'm planning to release this episode today. So you've got plenty of time to join. When you come in, you can literally binge every single drop that is already there. And the messages I've received from you have just been so beautiful. And it's so amazing to see how it's having an impact on you already. I follow most of you that are in the challenge, and I'm seeing you show up differently. I'm seeing the way that you're selling. I'm seeing the way that you're sharing your face and your voice and being on video. Oh, it just lights me up so much. And this is it. The intention of this visibility challenge is that you will set your own challenge on day 0. You'll have me dropping in once, well, I'm at least once a day, maybe sometimes more than once a day, but once a day with a voice note, sharing either some deepening of the embodiment that I'm speaking about today, some nugget that was true and alive for me in that moment. And they're very multifaceted. I'm not just like, me, I'm not just saying one little thing and off I go. It tends to be, layered. There's one way I would describe me, it's layered. So it's going to help you get visible in the way that you want to get visible, whatever way that you identified in this, whatever thing you resonated with. We're going to work on that together in the visibility challenge. And some days, obviously every day is an activation. You're going to have the the inspiration, the embodiment, the insights, the behind the scenes of how I'm doing this daily and how I'm navigating challenges daily. And some days I'm going to be giving you prompts, ways to actually think about, maybe it's a client story, maybe it is something that you've worked through. I'm going to be giving you prompts so that you have really specific things to put into action. There's going to be increased consistency. Doesn't matter if you're doing it for 30 days straight or if you're just committing to like, right, once a week for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to, or 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I'm going to do this thing. For you, you are going to have consistency. You're going to have a deeper level of knowledge and understanding because you've tuned in. And if you really take it all the way, you take the action, you are going to be embodied at a different level. Your visibility is just going to be at a different level at the end of the 30 days. Those of you who are already in are already experiencing the shifts. You're telling me you are. And it's beautiful, beautiful to hear. This isn't just about you being visible. This is about you being expressed, about you being powerful, about you being in your integrity. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on, what format you choose, what you're selling, whether you're selling or you're just focusing on selling a freebie or you're just focused on getting visible and building that muscle. This room is for you. The price is increasing on the 1st of May, 2025. And everyone who joins will be the first 10 people who join or up to the 1st of May, I will be drawing a prize for one of you to receive a free social media audit valued at $499. So jump on in. And otherwise, thanks so much for joining me. I absolutely love connecting with you on this podcast. Drop me a DM. Let me know when you're in. I'm going to put the link to the challenge in the show notes, but drop me a DM once you're inside. And I cannot wait to get started with you. All right, my darlings, have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you very soon.